Whether you're just entering the hobby or you've been in the hobby for a while, you might have heard people like myself and other influencers or content creators say, collect what you like. And it took me a few years to kind of fully understand what that meant, because at high level, yes, obviously collect what you like, but what does that really mean? So today, I'm going to give you my inputs and my deeper dive on that saying of collect what you like when it comes to collecting Pokemon cards. And before the video starts, please do me a favor, check out the links in the description down below. I actually started creating music. That's right, I'm going by the alias as Goober. I am on Apple Music currently, and I have a SoundCloud, so I'll have that link down below. I'm making house music, making the uns, uns, uns. Just another little side thing I wanted to do and wanted to share that with you guys. So if you guys want to jam some of my tunes, that'd be awesome. But yeah, furthermore, let's get right into today's video. All right, so if you made it this far, not very far into the video, but if you're here, thank you for joining me today. We're going to be taking a look at why you should collect what you like and why that matters, because it took me, I would honestly say, like 2 to 3 years to really understand what that meant in terms of Pokemon cards. Now, there's a few different categories that I'm gonna kind of divide this video into in terms of just overall topics. So depending on what type of collector you are or investor, it might pertain more to you at different points in the video. But we're gonna start out first with the first category being just the casual collector, because I know a lot of you probably fall into that category. So I'm gonna try to address the majority here. And I consider myself to be a casual collector. Now, granted, it has gotten scaled up over time. At the same time, I'm still collecting what I like, and I have actually a binder to showcase what I'm talking about here. And this is my I'm calling this my showcase binder, because it's not really full of like anything crazy, you know. It's just cards that I think are cool that I pulled out of my own collection, and I've even bought some to add to it here, which I'll go over in just a second. But the majority of the cards in this binder, like I think the most expensive single card in this binder might be worth like $50. But that's not the point. It's not about the money. As a casual collector, you know, you just want to collect stuff that looks cool. So taking a look at my first page here to give you kind of a general idea, I have some prism stars. I've been meaning to make a video on these cards just because I think they're super underrated, and I personally think they're really cool. You get trainer stadiums and Pokemon with the prism star. There's a Celebi down there, and I'll flip the page here to show you some others that I've acquired recently. I think the most expensive one that you can get, I think it's an Arceus. I think it's an Arceus, yeah. So I don't really have a lot to show for these prism stars, because some of these I've pulled, some of them I've just acquired over the years from purchasing them from card shops. But like this Arceus here, I think is the most expensive prism star, and it only goes for like $7. So really not that expensive in terms of just collectability. And then I have over here on the top right, you can barely see it, my old school EX section. Most of my other old school EXs are in set binders, so that's where they are at now. And coming up next, we have my alternate arts, and these are not really anything. They're just kind of outlier alternate arts. They're not really for any sets that I have completed, but they're just ones that I think are cool, and I got them for a pretty good price too. Like this one here I got through trade. Got this guy for like $30. Got this guy for another $30. Got him for like $20. Like, and then I actually got a good deal on this guy on eBay. He's got a crease right here, but it's not about, you know, the near mint condition status. Like, I really don't care about that. I just like the artwork. And I've been in an alternate art section, and I have some others over here just from a theme deck. I don't even know what they're called. They're like the trainer deck, starter kit decks. I've seen them around. You know, they're just out there. And then next we have miscuts that I've just pulled or acquired from packs. So kind of just off-center cards. A lot of them are pretty off-center, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of blue border plasma cards from like the black and white, you know, Team Plasma era. So I've been stocking up on these reverses because I think they're super cool. And if they come in through TCG Player and they're pretty minty, then I might consider grading them. But I do have a few graded versions of these cards, and I just love the look of them. So and then also, lastly but not least, I have acquired recently, I'll just pull it out, it'd be easier to show. I'm going to start a Sun and Moon Rainbow section. Because like you have cards like this that are $5, $6, $7, and they're pretty sweet. Like I always kind of bashed on rainbows. I wasn't a huge fan, to be honest, but seeing some of these like custom texture foils, like you know, this checker pattern going on in the background with the Ultra Beast, like the black and red. I don't know, super cool. So I picked this up for like $6, and that's pretty much it for the binder. But if you're gonna collect something that you like, they always say, oh, collect what you like, because if it goes up or goes down in value, it doesn't matter because you still like the look of it. And I get that to a point, but some of you might like to collect certain things based on their price, and that might change. So for example, I know a guy who really only dealt with like high-end cards. Like I'm talking like Crystal Charizards and, you know, like chase cards from like, you know, older sets. Like, you know, it was like that. Those were worth a lot during the market boom of 2020, and now they're not worth as much. So whether he got rid of those or not, I'm not sure. But, you know, if you collect something based on simply monetary value, then you do run the risk of the market shifting, and your $20,000 collection could be worth only $5,000 if the market just, you know, crashes by that much with single prices. So that's why people like myself and others say collect what you like. That way, if it's worthless or if it's worth a lot, you still like the look of it, and it doesn't matter because you're collecting it for the look of it and not the price, and that's fine. But if you're an investor, you might not give a crap about how it looks. You might just care about like you know, what it's worth. And I have a few cards in my collection where I just collected them for the sake of what they're worth. And cough cough, some alternate arts, like some of them are cool, but some of them are just kind of like but it's an alternate art, so because it has that name and that like association with it, I'm gonna get it in hopes that it goes up in the future, so then I can sell it maybe and get some other stuff I like. That's kind of the investor mentality of this video. And I used to be, you know, big into that idea and that mentality, but I've since shifted to collecting what I like, because like, for example, these EX battle decks back here, like, yeah, they're brand new. They're like $10 each. They have pretty decent, like, they're just pretty cool to look at in my opinion, but they may not ever go up, and that's fine because I got them to look at. Similarly with some other like theme decks. Theme decks are kind of weird. But then, you know, you might have something like this, for example, where you might also like the look of it, but it also might be worth more in the future. So if it is, then you might consider selling, or vice versa. And that's part of the investment. Like, that's part of the investment. Like, if you're investing either in the artwork on the box or the possibility of the artwork in the cards, like literally that's all you can do. There's that aspect. And then there's also the third aspect, which I don't think gets talked about very much, but hardcore collector that likes completing sets, because I am part of that category. I'm kind of like all over the place with my collection. Back in the day, back in 2020, I was a huge fan of old school EXs, and you know, this was when you could find lots for like 5 or 6 of them for like $60, because they hadn't really hit that value peak yet like they have now. Like, you could get a Rocket Suicune EX for like maybe $50, and that was kind of pushing it back then. I remember you know, Venusaur EX from Fire Red Leaf Green I got for like $20 or $30. So they weren't super unaffordable, kind of like they are now with the limited sets. But you know, back then I collected a lot of the cheaper ones because it was just easy to pick them up. Those ended up being from EX Power Keepers, which, funny enough, I actually had the full EX set. So I'm like, hey, I have all the EXs, I might as well just go and make a binder and put all the other cards from the set in there. And I pretty much just had to spend money on the holos, which was a little bit because there was a Charizard holo, but to say the least, I mean, it was really fun, you know, getting to collect certain sets. And I did the same thing for Heart Gold Soul Silver Undaunted. I had collected the Prime cards from the set, as well as the Kyogre and Groudon Legend and the Rayquaza Deoxys Legend cards. So I had a lot of the big hitters already. And if you kind of take that approach, if you're trying to complete sets like Scarlet and Violet, for example, like the most expensive card right now is Miriam, alternate art waifu card, right? But you know, it might not be the most expensive card in a year or two from now. For example, look at what's happening to Sun and Moon cards, like the team up cards and the alternate art tag teams. You know, those were not really the most expensive, maybe for some of the sets, but a lot of the rainbows kind of were up there because rainbows were like the highest rarity that, you know, the highest tier that you could pull. Like, they were considered more rare-ish to a point, but you know, you could still get alternate arts back then for $20-30, similar to how you can now with the current generation. But now we're looking at Gengar Mimikyu alternate art hitting the higher $500-600 range. And personally, myself, and like, I'm not gonna go for a set that has that high of a entry point to try to complete it. Only reason I'm completing Evolving Skies, or at least trying to, is because I pulled the majority of the big hitter cards. I still need the Umbreon, so if anybody wants to trade, it'd be definitely open. But yeah, that's pretty much the only thing preventing me from continuing to build out that binder, because I really need Rainbows and then the Umbreon, and then it's complete. Like any other set that doesn't have those expensive cards, like it might be a lot easier to complete the set. And that's kind of the approach that I've taken in the past. I find a set that I like the look of, for example, Black and White Plasma Freeze. I had the ability to get a bunch of commons, and they were fairly cheap. And then looking at the holos, $1 a piece, sure. Some of the EX full arts I already had, so I could just throw those in the binder. And then now we're only looking at like 12 cards to complete that set. And I actually just picked up a gold card secret rare on eBay for half price of what it normally goes for. So of course you got to take those opportunities when you can get them. But if you like collecting sets, then pick a set, stick to it. If you like collecting single cards, pick a subcategory or a niche, for example, like blue bordered plasma cards, or Sword and Shield era alternate arts, or Prism Stars, or Shinings, or Shinies, just like Hidden Fates baby Shinies. Like you could go down any of the various gimmick avenues, or if it's Pokemon Go, the Ditto cards, you know, like there's all kinds of different little aspects that they throw into these sets that kind of get overlooked and forgotten. So that's why I encourage each and every one of you to go onto, for example, like PokeElector. They have an app and they have a website. You can go and just look through the sets, just scroll through, and you might find a card that looks really cool. And that's how I found that Rainbow Kartana GX with the like checkerboard. I'm like, oh wow, that's got a custom like textured background that really wasn't used anywhere else but that card. I'm like, I like that. I'm gonna pick that up. And now it's in my binder, in my show binder, that is. So hopefully someone found value in this video. I felt like it needed to be addressed because I took too long to realize to collect certain subcategories and niches of cards and figure out what type of collector you are first before going into that, because you could be getting into some very expensive areas, for example. And I'll leave it at that. But if you did find value in this video, please press the like, subscribe down below. More content's on the way, so we'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Peace.